Here's a list of my current top 10 high-income investments in no particular order. The average yield is 10.3%. I hope sharing ideas like this is helpful, but there's no perfect or best list. You've got to find what works for you, so I want to help you with that. Today, I'll walk you through where I found these high-yield investments in the first place, my 7 sources to find new high-yield investment ideas. The first list of high-yield stocks that grabbed my attention was called the Contrarian Income Report. There were about 20 investments yielding an average of just under 8%, and hardly any of them were regular stocks. At that time, I wasn't familiar with business development companies, closed-end funds, M-REITs, that kind of thing. The report explained the reasoning behind each investment, and about 10 of the 20 sounded interesting to me. So I Googled those 10 to learn more, to get like a second opinion. And mostly I wanted to know how risky they were, because some of them were yielding more than 10%, and that maybe was too good to be true. The search results were pretty useless. Some of the research turned up nothing, a lot of it lacked depth, and there was a lot of listicles like best dividend stocks for the new year from sites like Motley Fool or Yahoo Finance, generic empty calorie kind of stuff. I kept digging, and eventually I found Seeking Alpha, and there's tons of in-depth research there. If anything, there's too much information. The quality of the articles varied from just okay or decent all the way up to excellent. So I read several until I understood what I thought were the key arguments for and against each investment, and that's usually about 4 to 8 articles. I also studied dividend histories and total return charts and ended up buying about 6 of the 10. That was more than 6 years ago, and today, as I look down their list, I can see some names that are common to my portfolio and their portfolio. Out of respect for their subscription service, I won't show you the members part of the website, but for example, Aries Capital, UTG, JEPQ, and a few others, about 6 or 7 of them, are common to both. The lesson I took from this was that the free articles on the internet were mostly junk, and the information in the paid newsletter was actually pretty useful. And it wasn't even that expensive. The last time I checked, it was $39 the first year and $100 after that. Let's put that down as source number 1, Contrarian Income Report. They have a fairly lengthy free trial. I think it's a couple of months long, so you don't have to spend money to try it out. A quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. Since retiring in 2017, I began researching my investment in far greater depth because they pay for everything now. When I find something interesting, I make a video. Actually, I always say that, but this video is different. This time, I didn't technically find something interesting. This video is about how I find something interesting, which I hope you'll find interesting. Okay, 1 source down, 6 to go. I'll pick up the pace. Let's say Contrarian recommended Aries Capital, which they do. While researching Aries Capital on Seeking Alpha, sometimes the analysis will come in the form of a comparison article. This one compares Aries Capital to their competitor, Hercules Capital. If it's favorable, I may want to look into Hercules, which would be a new investment idea. I'll put that down as source number 2, Seeking Alpha article. You can access these articles for free, but there is a limit. There's no advertising on the site, so obviously these authors need to get paid somehow. So there's a subscription, and that would get you unlimited access. By the way, Seeking Alpha doesn't write the articles, they just host the platform and review the submissions from the authors. At the bottom of each article is a comment section, and occasionally I'll find some useful little nuggets in there. Investors will chit-chat and debate competing investment ideas, or maybe they'll list similar investments that they like. For example, when I was reading about Maine and Aries Capital, I noticed BXSL appearing in the conversation pretty frequently, and that turned out to be a good find. So source number 3, the comments section inside Seeking Alpha. The motivation for the authors to write these articles is twofold. Firstly, they get paid by Seeking Alpha based on views. And secondly, some of the authors, not all of them, have their own paid newsletter. So it's a way for them to get exposure. You can tell if that's the case because there'll be a hyperlink at the bottom of the opening summary. It's pretty easy to miss, actually. I never really paid attention to this until January this year when I read an article by Scott Kennedy about Aries Capital. The depth of the research was on a different level, so I did some digging and I used Tipranks, which is a website that reviews financial bloggers, and Scott writes for the Colorado Wealth Management Fund, and they're ranked 12 out of 27,000. Thought that was pretty good. And you can see some stats in there on accountability, like success rate and average return. I ended up subscribing to their newsletter, which is called the REIT Forum, which goes narrower and much deeper than Contrarian or Seeking Alpha. It's focused on preferred stocks, BDCs, equity REITs, and mortgage REITs. Subscription is roughly $75 a month or $50 a month if you commit to a year. I'm still on $75 a month and will probably switch when I can overcome my fear of commitment. So source number 4 isn't the REIT forum specifically, it's just newsletters from the Seeking Alpha platform. They call them investing groups. You can browse through them, but there are so many it's kind of overwhelming. My point for this source is simply if you like a particular author, check to see if they have a newsletter. Okay, that's a lot of newsletter talk. Let's switch to something a bit more familiar. Source number 5 is YouTube. I hope you get some new ideas from this channel, but what about other channels? For all the thousands of videos about investing, there isn't really that much out there focusing on high yield, at least not that I've found. I watch Dividend Bull. There's quite a lot of crossover between our two portfolios. Then there's the Canadian channel, Passive Income Investing. He aims for a slightly higher yield than I do, but we do have a few funds in common. He's also interviewed quite a few fund managers, which is something I plan to do more of. If you found a YouTube channel that's a good source for investment ideas yielding about 8 to 10%, feel free to share in the comments below. Source number 6 is YouTube adjacent. I haven't mentioned it for a while, but we have an armchair income community. This is where we share ideas about income investing. And the reason I haven't mentioned it much is because if it grows too quickly, then the quality of the discussions probably won't be as high. We have a really nice group of people, and I've learned a lot from them, including a few good investment ideas. If you like chatting about income investing, there's a link in the description to join. That brings us to the 7th source of investing ideas, systematic income investing. I found this one when I was reading an article, and they were credited as the source for a chart that I wanted. The chart was for a business development company, and it was comparing the interest rate they pay for debt versus the interest rate they lend it out at. There's been a few data points like that where I literally can't find the information anywhere else. They have the biggest database I've ever seen for stats on preferred stocks and also BDCs. They also issue a daily summary of what happened in the stock market and weekly summaries for the BDC and the CEF sectors. I haven't made a video about it, but I recently bought a BDC called Fidus Investment, FDUS, and that one came from Systematic. The subscription is $29 a month. I'll put links for all these in the description. The link for Seeking Alpha is an affiliate link, so it usually comes with a free trial, a discount, or both, and it supports the channel. I didn't mention promotions in these videos because after a month or two, the information will be outdated. But if there's a special deal, I'll put it in a community post. The other websites that I mentioned, I'll put down there too. They're not affiliate links, but I guess they could be. So Contrarian, REIT Forum, Systematic, if you're watching and you want to offer Armchair Income subscribers a discount, send me an email and we'll set it up. Now you know where I find ideas. Feel free to comment on your sources. The hard part really is choosing which ones to buy, and that's a whole other process. But for me, it starts with these 5 quick and easy tools I use to compare investments. That wraps it up for this look at uncovering new ideas for high yield. More Armchair Income coming soon.